Recently, I've been getting a ton of questions and people asking me, how can I be more disciplined in trading? How can I stick to my rules? How can I stick to my plan? How can I actually start creating consistency? And it's a question that I mulled over for a long time, and it really took me an embarrassingly long number of years to actually figure out how I could be more disciplined and how I could actually consistently execute a plan and an edge. And I came to the conclusion that you create discipline through subtraction, not addition. Now, what does this mean? So initially, when I first started trading and I wasn't seeing the consistency and the results that I wanted to, and I wasn't necessarily following my plan, I thought the answer to my inconsistencies and my lack of discipline was adding more confirmation, was adding more confluences, because you kind of assume in your head that more checkboxes will create more certainty, and that's going to allow you to actually be able to execute a plan. When in actual fact, the opposite is true. The more decisions that you have to make, the more complex checkboxes and checklists you have to go through, the less likely you are to execute and the less disciplined you'll be in your plan. And so that's why I say discipline comes from subtraction. Think of it like this, like people go on diets all the time. They try and lose weight, they try to eat clean. But what happens is they still create an environment for undisciplined habits to creep in. Right? So they still have chocolate lying around the house. They still have fizzy drinks lying around the house. They still buy these things and keep them in their house. So what are the chances of them breaking their rules, breaking their plan? It's quite high, right? Because the temptation is there. Willpower and discipline only gets us so far. We only have so much willpower as humans, and there are only so many good quality decisions we can make, in any given day. And that's why if you remove these things, you remove that temptation, you remove your ability to break those rules and break those disciplined habits that you've put in place. Once you remove those, you have no choice but to execute, right? You have no choice but to eat clean because you've removed all these distractions. And it's the same in trading. See, once you start subtracting things, once you start removing unnecessary noise, unnecessary confluences, unnecessary concepts, whatever that may be, once you start removing these things, you have no choice but to execute your plan. You have no choice but to do the things you said you would do, because you only have a small number of decisions to make. And so that's really how you create discipline in your trading. It's not about fighting through it. It's not about, creating more willpower. You only have so much willpower as an individual. You have to create the environment for discipline. And that's why I think if you talk to a lot of traders, a lot of successful, profitable traders, their processes and their daily life is very simple. They don't have very complex frameworks. They don't have very complex lifestyles. They don't have to make a huge number of emotionally taxing decisions in a day, right? They will very often eat the same things every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever that may be. They'll have very clear-cut, disciplined routines and approaches to life. Because what that allows you to do is continue that momentum into your trading and continue that simplicity and that disciplined approach into trading. And I'm a firm believer in how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's very often why, if you have a very chaotic, undisciplined life, you're doing all these poor habits, you're smoking, you're drinking all the time, you're going out partying all the time in the week, whatever. If you have all these undisciplined habits, that will almost always carry over into your trading. And so if you want to stay disciplined in trading, if you want to consistently execute a plan, consistently execute an edge and actually see results, you have to create a disciplined environment for it. And you have to be the individual that follows their rules. You have to create that individual and that environment for that individual to thrive. Okay, so then you're probably asking, well, how do I create this? What do I subtract? And the first thing you have to do is you have to remove all of these confluences. And I know you're probably thinking, well, if I remove all these confluences, how will I know if a trade's going to win? And that's not the point. You can't know if a trade's going to win. And these technical concepts, these technical patterns don't create more certainty. They don't increase the likelihood of a trade playing out, right? You have to get out of this mindset of certainties and being able to know which trade's going to win, which trade's going to lose. You have to increase your ability to execute a plan, to execute a strategy, an edge, right? And the way you do that is by decreasing friction. And that friction is in your decision making. You have to be seamless. You have to be ruthless with your execution. So reduce the number of confluences. 5, I would recommend maximum. You don't need more than 5 confluence points, in my personal opinion. Then that simplifies your whole process because you're not confused when you come to the chart and you don't have lots of things that you're looking for when you come to the chart. So really there should be no reason for you to make emotional trades because you have a very clear process. The clearer you can get on your process, the less likely you are to emotionally trade, because even a monkey should be able to follow rules, right? Follow clear-cut rules when you come to the market. It should be, if these rules happen, then I do that. If I don't see any of my criteria, there's nothing to do. I walk away. You have to walk away, right? Don't stay there and look for something that isn't there. If your process is not followed, if your process is not seen in the market, then don't do anything. It's as simple as that, right? Stop forcing your opinions and emotions on the market. The market doesn't care what you think or what you feel of it, right? The market only cares, well, the market doesn't care about anything, right? The market's going to do what the market's going to do. The only thing you need to care about is the disciplined execution in your strategy, the disciplined execution in your routines. That's the only thing that matters because that's what creates consistency. And that's the only thing that you can draw certainty from. You can't draw certainty from more confluences because it doesn't create certainty. Like I used to think that if I have more confluence, it would make me feel better. It would make me feel like, all right, this is going to be a good trade. And then I would be far more attached to the outcome. And if it lost, I will be far more emotional. So doing this, you reduce drastically your emotional attachment to outcome because you are focused on your routines, your discipline, and your execution. So step number 1 before you do anything else is reduce the number of confluences. Test it. Make sure you actually have statistical edge, statistical data to back up that edge. And then start applying it. Start building the reps slowly but surely. One simple decision at a time. Slowly build that confidence, that conviction in your decision making, that discipline in your decision making. And then start to improve the other areas of your life. Because trading doesn't fix your life. Trading's not going to fix your life. You have to fix your life before you fix your trading. So you have to fix all of your undisciplined habits outside the markets. And that only comes with subtraction. So focus on reducing, simplifying everything. And that way you can actually follow an edge, follow a strategy, and finally start to see consistent results and a compounding in your learning.